I want to start this video with a question. What does it mean when a company builds something, tests it in private, and then looks at what it made and says no? The world is not ready for this, not because it doesn't work, because it works too well. That is what happened at Anthropic this month. They built a new AI model, they tested it internally, and what they found in those tests was so significant, so outside what anyone expected, that they made a decision almost no technology company has ever made voluntarily. They built it, they locked it away, and then they told the world why. The model is called Claude Mythos, and in the next 12 minutes I am going to walk you through exactly what it can do, why Anthropic decided it was too dangerous to release. Let me give you the background, because context matters here. Anthropic is one of the 3 most important AI companies on Earth right now. They are the team behind the Claude series of AI models, the ones that compete directly with GPT and Gemini for the title of most capable AI assistant available. Claude Mythos is their next generation frontier model. It was still in preview, meaning testing phase, when all of this became public. Let me tell you what Anthropic actually found, because I think the specific details matter. This is not vague AI doomsaying. These are documented, specific, verified capabilities. Over the course of their internal testing, Claude Mythos identified thousands of what are called zero-day vulnerabilities. A zero-day is a flaw in software that the software's own developers do not know exists. No patch, no fix, no warning. You are vulnerable and you do not know it. Mythos found these across every major operating system, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and in every major web browser, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, not 1 or 2, thousands, many of them critical. But finding vulnerabilities is only the first part. Security tools have found vulnerabilities for years. What made Mythos different is what it did next. It built the exploits. Fully functional working attack code. In over 83% of attempts, it reproduced the vulnerability and developed a working exploit on the first try. Not a proof of concept, a complete deployable attack. Here are 3 specific examples Anthropic has disclosed publicly, because these vulnerabilities have been patched, so we can actually talk about them. First, Mythos wrote a web browser exploit that chained 4 separate vulnerabilities together. It wrote a complex technique called a JIT heap spray, which escaped both the browser's own security sandbox and the operating system's sandbox simultaneously. Second, on the OpenBSD operating system, famous for being extraordinarily hardened, Mythos found a 27-year-old vulnerability, a bug that had been sitting undetected in one of the most scrutinized pieces of software on Earth for 27 years. Third, on a piece of software called FFmpeg, used in virtually every video streaming service and media player, Mythos found a 16-year-old bug, also missed by millions of previous automated tools. And then there is the most unsettling demonstration of all. Anthropic engineers asked Mythos to find remote code execution vulnerabilities overnight. They came back in the morning. Complete working exploits were waiting for them, generated autonomously, while they slept. I want to pause on something here because I think it is the most important part of this story that is not getting enough attention. Anthropic said, clearly in their own published statement, that they did not train Mythos to have cybersecurity capabilities. This was not intentional. They wrote, "These capabilities emerged as a downstream consequence of general improvements in code, reasoning, and autonomy." Read that again slowly. General improvements in code, reasoning, and autonomy. The better the model got at thinking and coding, skills you want in an AI assistant, the better it also became at hacking. Intelligence is not a set of separate boxes. When you make something more intelligent in one domain, capability bleeds across into adjacent domains you were not expecting. This is what the AI safety community calls emergent capability, and it is one of the things that keeps researchers up at night. Not because AI will spontaneously decide to hack the world, but because we cannot fully predict in advance what a more capable AI will be able to do. We discover it during testing or after deployment, and with something this powerful, discovering it after deployment is not an option anyone wants to contemplate. Anthropic caught this because they tested carefully, because they looked. Not every AI lab tests with this level of rigor. And as models get more capable every quarter, that gap between what is designed and what emerges is going to keep widening. So what did Anthropic do with this? Here is where the story takes a turn that I think is actually worth acknowledging. They made a decision that very few technology companies have ever made voluntarily. They decided not to release it, not to sell it, not to put it in a product. Despite having spent enormous resources building it, they chose restraint. Instead, they launched something called Project Glasswing, a controlled initiative that gives access to a carefully selected group, specifically to find and fix vulnerabilities in the most critical software that the world runs on: operating systems, browsers, the internet's core infrastructure. The organizations that got access read like a who's who of critical technology: Amazon Web Services, Apple, Cisco, Google, JPMorgan Chase, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Palo Alto Networks, CrowdStrike, the Linux Foundation, around 40 organizations in total, all operating under strict conditions, all using Mythos defensively, not offensively. The logic is this: if Mythos can find these vulnerabilities, then deploying it in controlled hands to patch them is better than pretending the capability doesn't exist. Use the weapon to disarm the weapons before someone else builds the same thing without the ethical constraints. Anthropic also committed up to $100 million in usage credits and $4 million in direct donations to open source security. That is a significant commitment, and it is certainly not nothing. Here is the part that should concern every person watching this video, not as an AI story, but as a personal one. Anthropic's own estimate is that other AI labs will develop comparable capabilities within 6 to 18 months. OpenAI is already reported to be working on a model with similar cybersecurity abilities. And AI does not create vulnerabilities. The vulnerabilities are already there. They have been there for years in the software that runs your phone, your bank, your hospital, your power grid. AI simply finds them faster. Much faster. And AI-enabled attackers will be able to go from found a bug to deployed an attack at a speed no human security team can match. AI is compressing the window between vulnerability discovery and weaponization to near zero. That window you have between a bug being discovered and turned into an attack, that window is closing. Nation-states have spent decades building stockpiles of secret zero-day vulnerabilities. With systems like Mythos, those stockpiles become obsolete almost overnight. They have a powerful incentive to use them now. Okay? I want to give you something practical to take from this, because I do not think the right response to this story is paralysis or panic. At an individual level, the single most important thing you can do is update your software. Known vulnerabilities only hurt you if you have not installed the patch. Turn on automatic updates for your operating system, your browser, every app on your phone. This does not protect you from everything, but it closes the doors that Project Glasswing is working to patch. At an organizational level, if you work in IT, security, or run any kind of business with digital infrastructure, the Bain & Company report on this is worth reading. They estimate many organizations will need to double their cybersecurity spending, not increase it by 10%, double it. That is a significant number. But the alternative, waiting until an AI-enabled attack finds the 27-year-old bug in your systems, costs considerably more. Let me come back to the question I started with. What does it mean when a company builds something and then says, "Not yet. The world is not ready"? I think it means the technology has reached a level of capability that genuinely changes the risk calculus. Documented, specific exploits. That is serious and deserves to be treated seriously. Anthropic did not have to disclose any of this. They chose transparency over competitive advantage. That choice deserves acknowledgement, even if it does not eliminate the underlying concern. The story of Claude Mythos is not finished. The race between defenders and attackers, now running partly on AI, is already underway. What happens next depends on decisions being made right now. Here is my question for you in the comments. Should AI companies be legally required to disclose capabilities like this when they discover them during testing? Yes or no? And tell me why. If this video gave you something to think about, subscribe. Every week I cover the AI stories that actually matter. Just the real picture. I will see you in the next one.